welcome to Board of It. I'm Farrell, this is Tally.
Hi.
And welcome to our review of Evolution New World, which could also be titled Evolution, yet another Evolution game, because there's like dozens of these things at the moment. But if you don't know the series, then what Evolution is a card-based game where you're creating creatures, you're playing an animal card, and then you're playing trait cards to this animal, which is going to give it all kinds of abilities. And the goal is to have your animals survive the game and not be eaten by other players or starve.
In terms of evolutions, evolutionary tree, there was the original game, which then diverged into two distinct branches as two separate publishers put out some remakes and some expansions. The branch of games by North Star Games are arguably more well known because they include Oceans and Evolution Climate. However, New World is a modernised or anniversary edition of the original Evolution game by the original publisher. It's for 2 to 4 players and it's a fast-paced, card-based game with lots of player interaction. And before we get into the review, we will just note that we were very kindly sent this copy to review by the publisher. Evolution New World is a fairly simple teach and a really rapid setup. Each player is going to be dealt 6 cards, and on their turn they'll either play one face down to create a new animal or play them face up to add new traits to existing animals. Each trait card has 2 traits, one at the top, one at the bottom, and one is common and one is specialised. To play a new trait to your animal, you simply select the orientation of the trait that you want to have the top or the bottom show, and then slip it beneath one of your animals to give it that new trait. You'll then move to the area phase where a new area will be revealed. These areas show what food and protection is available, with each area representing a different habitat. There may also be 2 habitats on one card, one of which will require a special trait to be able to take food from them. After the reveal, players will take it in turns to take food and or shelter from the different areas, and players can also activate their carnivores to eat other animals around the table. Playing traits is an arms race because carnivores can eat any animal. However, as animals start to get more defensive traits, the carnivores also need to keep up and evolve traits in order to counteract these defensive traits. For example, getting sharp vision in order to eat animals that have a camouflage. And then finally, there's the extinction phase. Any animals which haven't been fully fed according to their needs will die off. An area will leave the area row, and players will be dealt a new hand of cards based on how many animals they have left alive. You'll play 6 rounds, with all of the scoring being done at the end of the game. It's an all or nothing game in that you'll get 3 points for each animal still left alive at the end of the final extinction phase, 1 point for each trait, and then bonus points for any traits which raise your food requirements. And then the player with the most points will win.
This is going to be a bit of a classic Board of It review where we play devil's advocate, because there is a lot we like about Evolution New World, but we also know there's a lot of stuff people aren't going to like. And so we're going to cover both sides, essentially. And we might as well get into what is probably going to be the biggest point of contention between people who like it, people who don't, and that's how the scoring works. So in the other evolutionary arm of Evolution games, the ones by North Star Games, they have progressive scoring where you get points throughout the game and some points at the end, and then whoever has the most wins. Whereas in Evolution New World, all the scoring's done the second the game ends. You only score up for what you have after the final round happens. And it doesn't matter if you're the best player for 5 of those rounds, you can end up being dead last in the 6th round because everyone targets you. And that's certainly going to be something that people will not get on with.
Yeah, for our part though, we don't mind that, and in fact we quite enjoy the savagery. It's just the type of brutality that we like, and the game goes by so quick that it's pretty hard to feel aggrieved by a last-minute change in fortunes. Also, there's so many traits available that it does present a lot of different strategies and options, so it's certainly not a game that you feel comes like completely down to luck. And just regards to the trait cards, there's also 2 traits on every card, so the players are always presented with a reasonable amount of options. We do wonder though, if it was a round or two shorter, perhaps it would be more palatable to those people who do mind that it comes down all to the final round. Our personal experience has been one of great fun. It's a quick, snappy, interactive game where the theme lends itself to having lots of laughs and creating your own stories. The first game might be a little bit tough because there are a lot of traits to learn, but the game comes with some really great player aids. And thankfully, a lot of the common traits will be coming up time and time again, so they're easier to learn. And the more unique traits will have some sub-copy on the card which tell you what they do. The tarot-sized cards are also a really, really nice touch because it makes the game very readable. It's very easy to see what traits your opponents have around the table. We much appreciate that because that's something we did really struggle with in Oceans, another game in the evolutionary branch of Evolution.
One of the most fun and engaging aspects of Evolution New World was the arms race it presents you with, because you'll be looking at the player next to you and they'll play Carnivore and you'll go, I don't like that at all. So then you'll play Camouflage, but then the next turn they play Sharp Eyes, so now they can see and eat your animal again. And it goes on and on like this, and you're looking at all the other players, you're trying to outmaneuver each other, and it's very joyous and fun. The one thing I will say is the traits that you have is obviously luck of the draw. And this means that it can just be another player draws exactly the one trait that brings your entire well-defended animal down, any other trait, and it wouldn't have been able to do that. And it can feel a bit harsh to some people. For us, we feel as though it's very thematic. It's part of what this game is and what it's trying to simulate. But obviously people who want a really strategic game might not enjoy it so much when you have this luck involved.
Another point of contention is likely to be the mechanism of being able to eat other players' animals. To us, it's quite thematic, but it's also something you have to work towards because you have to be able to counteract those defensive traits. Even though the mechanism is quite take-that-esque, it doesn't feel too much like that because of the aforementioned arms race. Because of the way Evolution works, players will likely be ganging up on one another because the game is very readable. At any given time, it's quite clear who the leader is, so that player will become a target if you've got some carnivores on hand.
The one gameplay mechanism I personally don't like is the fact that the less animals you have at the end of the round, the less cards you draw. Because you could be targeted by everyone, go down to one animal, and then you only get to draw 3 cards, whereas the rest of them, who have 3 animals each, get to draw 5 cards. So not only are you worse off only having 1 animal, you now have less options available to you to build back up, keeping you out of contention. And while you might argue that then players will likely turn to the player who's in the lead at that moment, sometimes you just can't attack other players' animals because they're too well defended or you don't have the right traits. And nobody's going to let their own animal or carnivore die if they can eat another player's, even if that player is already dead last. So it feels a little bit wonky to me, this whole situation.
So, final thoughts. Evolution New World is a game that we've had a lot of fun with and will continue to play. There are certainly elements others might find annoying or too harsh, but for us, they just add to the fun and the engagement, and the game just goes by so fast anyway that it doesn't really matter. The back and forth card play is something we really loved, and the art on the cards really made us laugh. And just in general, we found it to be a very thematic game and one that we enjoyed much more than the only other Evolution style game that we've played, which is Oceans.
Yeah, and in terms of giving you another viewpoint, we actually played this with someone who had played Evolution's Climate. And he essentially said that he much preferred the more simple and more visible traits available in New World. And also the fact that they had a player aid, they're easier to get through, and that the game was lighter and a bit quicker, more accessible. But he did much prefer that Climates had the progressive scoring, and he didn't really find it to be too palatable that everything was all or nothing in the final round. But from what we think, we obviously have really enjoyed our time with it, and we're going to give it 2 thumbs up. And to be honest, you should know from what we've said if it's going to be for you or not, if it sounds good. But it is something we very much enjoy.
Yes.
So that was our review of Evolution New World. We hope it was helpful, and we recommend If you want to know a little bit more, we talk about it on our podcast, episode 2, Bored of It podcast. And so you can hear more there and what makes the ultimate animal. But if you have any questions, please let us know. And please consider subscribing if this was helpful. Please like it if you think it was funny and you like the dogs. And most importantly, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
See ya.